Look at that. 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 That is freaking predator right there.
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you?
What?
Who thinks he's smarter than you? This is just Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. This is just look at that. This is just look at that. This is just look at that. This is just look at that.
Alex Jones is lying to you. That might come as a shock.
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man.
What?
Pac-Man. This is just Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. Jones has fake callers. This is corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate takeover, censorship, debanking, arrest, tyranny. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. And he's a disgrace. And he's a disgrace. And he's a disgrace. And he's a disgrace. Look at that. Look at that.
Uh-oh. Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes.
Uh-oh. I love mangoes too.
9 cents. Okay. Now that we are up under Biden's regime, my bag of mangoes now costs $11.99.
That seems like a pretty good deal. A bag of mangoes? Aren't mangoes like $3 each? That's it. I want what, $8 or $11. That's it.
The American people will lie. And highway robbery is what you're doing. Bring my mangoes back down. My bag of mangoes. My bag of mangoes.
Mangoes?
My bag of mangoes. Bring my mangoes back down. Raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Bring my mangoes back down.
The Wisconsin crowd identified with the mangoes.
Disproportionately affected the American people. Those who want me to be healthy. Those who want me to be healthy. If highway robbery is what you're doing. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit. Don't raise the price of fruit.
Mangoes?
Look at those eyes, man. That dude is gone, ladies and gentlemen.
Alex Jones is now very, very upset with me.
Look at that. That is a frickin' predator right there. Who thinks he's smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you. Pac-Man never talked to the New World Order, because Pac-Man's a loser. Pac-Man's a loser. He's not a knight at the round table.
That's true. I'm not a knight at the round. That actually is accurate.
That dude is gone, ladies and gentlemen. Pac-Man. If I was telling my children who not to be, it's Pac-Man. Pac-Man's a loser. Smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you. The evil's growing, it's coming. What you asked for is now at the door, scratching. So open the door and prepare to meet your destiny. Pac-Man's a loser. Man's a loser. That is a frickin' predator right there. Who thinks he's smarter than you, thinks he's better than you, and he's gonna beat you.
Trump was doing this with his personal toilet.
But sinks, toilets, and showers.
Elements in bathrooms.
10 times, 15 times.
Elements in bathrooms.
We're looking very strongly at sinks and showers.
Elements in bathrooms.
10 times, 15 times.
Elements in bathrooms.
What on earth is going on with Trump and toilets? Trump's White House toilet would be clogged. Clogged. Trump was flushing down the toilet. Is this the explanation? Is this the explanation?
Big massive dumps. Elements in bathrooms. 10 times, 15
Trump was doing this with his personal toilet.
Elements in bathrooms. And showers. Big massive dumps. Elements in bathrooms. Duty. Times, 15 times. Elements in bathrooms. God bless Mexico and such. Thank you very much. Elements in bathrooms.
Well, welcome everybody. It is day one of Cpac Texas 2022. Proceedings are underway, and there's a lot of wacky stuff coming up today, so I'm glad that you're with us. Right now, the Schlapp twins, I'm sorry, not the Schlapp twins, they're husband and wife, I guess. The Schlapps, I guess we're calling them, Matt and Mercedes, are speaking to radical, repugnant, reactionary, retrograde, rancid Republican Governor Greg Abbott. And I guess soon Sarah Palin is going to be joining them. And then in about 15 minutes, the Hungarian president, Viktor Orban, an extremist nationalist, is expected to take the stage, which is quite crazy. I mean, as if we don't have enough authoritarian lunatics here, we've got to go and bring them from Eastern Europe to speak to American right-wing clowns. So it's going to be quite a day. And we're monitoring a number of different feeds. We have so many different things going on here, and it all is what it is. I mean, I continue to have extreme levels of concern for this right-wing movement that doesn't even pretend to care about policy. They just want to care about owning the libs and being as extremely authoritarian as they can. And also in going against their own stated principles when the principles aren't convenient. We're for small government, except regulate Twitter and don't allow gay marriage and don't allow abortion and blah, 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 right? I mean, so it's quite a scene. And we have so many different things happening here. We have about 24 unban requests on Twitch. I have an incredible Kim Iverson compilation. We have new Giga Cringe from Joseph R. Rogan II. What else we're going to look at we have elements from Alex Jones.
Pac-Man's a loser. Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money, but everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Right. And then in addition to that, we may be on the precipice of a number of consecutive streams, including tomorrow we might get 2 streams, Cpac Day 2 and the Scrumps rally at night. And then Saturday is the main event of Cpac, at which the failed former president, Donald Trump, will actually be speaking. So we may be looking at 4 streams in 3 days. Just to get a sense of the tone and tenor of Cpac, let's listen. But then I have so many things, and we're going to look at a bunch of stuff between now and when Viktor Orban speaks.
By the way, and he said that parents don't have a right to know.
This audio level is criminal. Let me adjust it.
Are teaching in our classroom. Now, as I said, Terry McAuliffe is retired. I think Beto O'Rourke might have hired him, Robert Francis, to be his campaign manager because Beto O'Rourke is out there saying, what are parents doing intervening in the education of their children? They have no right.
Ooh, this is a very whiny delivery.
You mentioned one of the elements, and that is transparency.
Elements in
Parents
bathrooms.
have every right to know exactly all of the materials that their children are being taught. We learned that. We learned that during...
We can't teach transgender. Nobody knows what that means, but you certainly can't do it.
We, for the first time, got to see that, in fact, our students, and even in Texas, were being taught critical race theory. And so...
I would love for Greg Abbott to ever have to explain what critical race theory is. It's that white people should hate themselves. Wow, Greg, that's an incredible analysis. By the way, we are 7% from completing our first level 5 hype train on Twitch in a very long time.
Beautiful children.
They're over there.
Well, some of it. There's additional children over there.
Is that 3? One I didn't. So here's a point with them.
Here's some children.
You love your children more than any government employee ever can. you have the right to be the decision maker for the health care and educational decisions for your child. You should have the right to choose the school that is best for your child, as opposed to government mandating what school your child should attend.
Right.
Okay.
Governor, you're
Crowd really riled up, huh?
with
An electric speaker.
the growing Hispanic community here in Texas, and we saw the recent win of Congresswoman Flores, which was a huge success.
She's going to be here.
Yes, and we've seen other candidates that the New York Times now calls the far-right Latina.
It looks almost empty. Did you see that shot of the crowd there?
First Republican conservative leaders out there who simply love America. They love their faith.
All right, so you get this. We're really standing by for Viktor Orban, and then he'll be followed up. Actually, we have the agenda. Sean Hannity is speaking today. It's going to be a completely delusional day, and I am looking forward to it very much because of how insane it's going to be. All right, let's get to a couple of different things here. I do want to say thank you to two very special people here at the top, Caleb Rose and Ryan Carpenter, both signing up for memberships on my website, joinpacman.com. Also want to say thanks to everybody who has supported on Twitch in the last few minutes, and this includes Polo Dal, Dirt Nap, Life is Good, Rated Roy, Richie, Danv with a gift and a subscription, Your Old Shoes gifted 5, putting us at 12. Crowbar, Stuck-a-Duck, and Napa Skip Dog have signed up, putting us at 15. And then we've got Billy Carpenter, Blueberry Babe, Philly Phillip, Skittle Stew, and Badness immediately pushing us to 22. And when you add in Flea Girl and Dustin D, we're already at 24 at this very nascent stage of today's stream. All right, let's look at a couple different things here. And there's so much. This is kind of funny. The other day, I talked about Kim Iverson, and we tried to look at a clip of her talking about something about trans, and it was so boring that I had to bail. And our friend Independent NN put together this thing for us. Oh, speaking of Kim Iverson.
Do you not think that there is an increase in children, young or teens, that they feel like they're the other gender? I mean, are we seeing an increase in that because it's a phase? I mean, I do think that teenagers go through phases.
Why is Kim Iverson so annoying? Like, I just don't care. It's like, okay, you have terrible ideas about everything. Why would anyone listen to you?
Too much more research on that to know that. I think tends to be the fad of the era. That is how it is. It doesn't diminish or it doesn't diminish the fact latching on to exist and exist. They're saying, oh, okay, well, that's me now. That's what I feel.
You are a fucking moron.
You're a moron!
Wow.
You're a moron.
This is quite a compilation.
Certainly, I guess there would be, I'm feeling a certain way. Is there an increase of that?
What is she talking about?
Something because the society's more open.
I'm pretty sure, that thing about how, like, if you put 1,000 monkeys in front of 1,000 typewriters, eventually they'd write Macbeth. I think that was how this diatribe was generated. It's random monkeys typing words. She used a random word generator to describe it, to create it. I mean, I guess I don't know how much more there is really to say about it, but there's Kim Iverson with opinions about trans. I mean, she's entitled to her opinions, and I don't even know what else to say about it. All right, so pretty nicely done by our friend Independent NN there. I can absolutely get behind that. Okay, so a lot of very strange things happening here. We have a different stream of Cpac, and we're going to keep an eye on that very, very closely. Thank you to Shannon McIntyre for signing up at joinpacman.com. Very much appreciate that. Your new member number 25 today. Also, Cash Money Rash, It's My HIPAA, Glitteriest Lady Dread signing up via Twitch, putting us at 28. Greg Abbott continues to use words to try to communicate with language, and somebody in the room at least seems to be liking it.
For being here at Cpac. Keep up the good work.
All right.
We'll get it done.
Thank you all very much.
Wow. Really just an electric and inspirational atmosphere at Cpac, and Greg Abbott. Hard to imagine a more high-energy speaker than him. Super chats coming in. None right now, but that's okay. We're tracking all of it very, very closely. Fire Pelosi, Save America, the theme of this year's Cpac, as you can see there. And now we go into the My Coffee element of Cpac.
I get products all the time from entrepreneurs for my new platform, MyStore.com.
Oh, my God.
And when I tried my coffee for the first time, I was blown away. It is the best coffee I've ever had in my life. I spent the last 4 months doing my due diligence.
Are we going to learn more about this at the Symposium?
Every step from the fields to the cup to ensure the best quality coffee you're ever going to have. It starts with the beans that are grown in Honduras. Honduras is volcanic.
Honduras? You can grow beans in America. Shouldn't you be getting the beans in Hawaii? I mean, if this is all about America, why is Honduras? That sounds extremely un-American.
In the coffee industry. And after that, it goes into production, which is all done right here in the USA. It's like you're getting that small batch specialty coffee, but delivered right to your front door. So go to my...
This is like a low-rent Billy Mays. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not working. It's not working. All right, so that's what they've got going on there, and we're going to be back with all of it very soon. Thanks to Trish the Dish and Erroneous, as well as Decomposing Diva, Brain Matter, and JP DeBeast already exists for the Twitch Prime subscriptions, putting us at 33. All right, next element here. Let's go to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is now mad about something about the World Economic Forum and electric vehicles. Let's look at a couple super chats before we go in. Who do you think will win the Republican Arizona governor's race? I don't know. I mean, they're counting. I have no idea. They're counting ballots. We have to wait and see. Republicans sure hate when you do agree with their ideas, but the people of Kansas has spoken. All right, listen to this.
Put out on July 18th, which...
3 circular economy approaches to reduce demand for critical metals. Oh, wow. And this is, who put this out?
This is on the
World Economic Forum?
Yeah.
Shifting from fossil fuels to renewables requires huge amounts of critical metals, which is true. Recycling alone won't be enough to sustain the... Oh, I get it. They fucking played the old switcheroo on us. You got to get an electric car. So, actually, now that we've got you off the fossil fuels, that's not enough.
Not, dude, not even
cars.
No,
you don't need a car.
So the idea is there's like some conspiracy here?
Recycling is not going to be enough to sustain the amount of materials needed, so we need to increase sharing, reuse, and a preference for longevity to reduce demand. What does that even mean?
Let me explain, Joe, what that means. We should prefer products that last a long time so you don't have to replace them frequently. It's not particularly nefarious. We should have so it's sort of like, you know, when I bought my espresso machine, which, by the way, is now in legal hell.
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
When I bought my espresso machine in 2015, that's 7 years ago, I could have gone with a $200 machine. And it probably would have had to have been replaced already. But instead, I went with a beautiful $650 machine, which is made from metal and other elements, and it is still working beautifully. It's now tied up in court. I haven't seen him. I could refer to my espresso machine as him. I haven't seen him in months because he's tied up in legal hell. But the machine is still going strong. It's a preference towards quality so that I don't end up buying 3 machines and 2 end up flushed down the toilet. Not particularly nefarious.
Who's going to own the Ubers?
Interpret that, please.
Who's going to own the Ubers? What?
We need to increase sharing, reuse, and a preference for longevity to reduce demand. What does that mean? Why is that so ambiguous?
Well, why is it so confusing would be a better question.
I get reducing sharing. I get reusing. But a preference for longevity to...
Yes. Prefer items that last longer.
Reduce demand? What does that mean?
Yeah, what it means is as follows. My demand for espresso machines is lower if my one machine lasts a long time. If I am committed to having an espresso machine, if it breaks, now I demand a new machine. And by demand, I don't mean I show up and go, let me speak to the manager. I mean, I demand it economically speaking. I'm in the market for a machine. If I have one that has more longevity, I'm reducing my demand for new machines because I've got a working machine.
Do you know what that means?
Don't buy new cars a lot. Buy them left often.
Preference for longevity. So preferring older cars, is that what it's saying?
No, preferring cars that last a long time.
To own it longer, over a long period
Cuba?
of time.
Like
oh my God. Oh God. Like Cuba.
Communist Cuba? they have the dopest
you
old
can't
cars.
own anything. That's basically what they're saying.
No,
Buy our shit.
They have
use our
cars.
shit.
They have cars in Cuba. They have dope old cars.
I cannot believe this is happening. I cannot believe this is happening. Preferring better quality stuff means we will be like Cuba.
Which I love old cars.
Oh my God. Have you ever seen like those photographs of, because what they've done is they've maintained them and taken care of them and like refixed them and refinished them.
Yeah.
And they're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then he's like, it's actually pretty cool when you take care of stuff. That is something else, guys. That is really, really, really something else. Wow. Yeah. I would love to go back on with Rogan and just talk about this stuff. Be like, Joe, were you really that confused by like, hey, we should prefer stuff that lasts a long time because it's just like better? I'd rather get one good pair of boots than buy a new pair of boots every year. And also that keeps boots out of landfills. Like it's not complicated. It's not complicated. Okay. Thanks to Fat Billy from Philly, as well as Fluid, Shoplifting Empath, and Fat Comrade for the Twitch Prime subscriptions, putting us at 37. Let me announce, by the way, we have just made an incredible upgrade to the David Pakman Show membership program. Instead now of us having a barely functioning audio podcast for our members, we have a new system. It is generating a unique podcast feed URL for every member. It's self-service. You want to put the podcast feed in any app or get episodes emailed to you daily or just watch in a browser, whatever. We have a new system. I believe that this probably doubles or triples the value of our memberships, but we are not increasing the prices whatsoever. And in fact, if you use the coupon code INDICT, you will get a criminal discount off of the cost of memberships. And it is truly something else. I hope you will avail yourself of that. Let's look at some other super chats here. David, tell Charles Booker to make an ad about Rand Paul's decision on the PACT Act, please. I'm not in touch with Charles Booker, but if I have the opportunity, I would absolutely talk to him about that. Constantly making up conspiracies probably makes him feel so smart and special. Ooh, that's aggressive. That's pretty damn aggressive. I don't know if we want to go in that direction right now, necessarily. Let's see what else we have here as we are waiting for more things. Oh, Dave Rubin explained the ideal family, and I guess the host got really confused by it. This should be interesting.
A family generally is a father and a mother and then children. Are there ways? That is the norm. That is the norm, and I would say in some ways this is going to sound a little bit weird for a certain amount of people, but that is sort of the ideal. But in the world, not everything is always the ideal. So in the family that we are going to raise, we're obviously going to have two fathers. However, that is not me saying, oh, women are not important or that there is no difference between men and women or anything like that. And will it look different than the traditional family? Yes. But how many people do the traditional family truly right with the best of the mother and the father and don't do anything to screw up their kids psychologically?
Man, this is weird. Rubin is like justifying his own gay parenthood by saying lots of straight couples are bad at parenting too. It's a strange line of reasoning.
Or physically or anything else. So I think you can say that, oh, there is the norm and the ideal, and then there are things around that and approximate to it that are pretty good too. And the best that I can do is do the best that I can.
Right. Rubin's saying, I will be providing what is a subpar parenting situation because there's no mother, but it will be equivalent to a lot of heterosexual subpar parenting as well. That's what I'm hearing here.
To make something good happen.
What I hear from your things right now is that on the ideal, you would prefer that your children will be heterosexual and to live in the classic ideal family. Men and women.
Well, I wouldn't prefer. Well, that's not exactly what I'm saying. I don't know that I would prefer that they would be. I would.
It's kind of what he's saying. He's kind of saying it would be best for people to be heterosexual, and that way they can be heterosexual parents. And the host is like kind of rightly pointing that out. And Rubin's like, well, I don't know about prefer.
I would prefer that I am able.
They can be gay as long as they're straight parents, which is the best thing.
To raise two children who are functional adults who have an understanding of the way the world works and can find some meaning in their lives and live a life that's important to them. If ultimately they both turn out to be straight, that's fantastic. If one of them turns out to be gay, that's fine too.
It's fine too is different than fantastic. Man, this is weird, huh?
On the ideal, not if it would happen, you would, of course, you would embrace them if they were gay, like, of course. But this is not the question.
Yeah.
The question is, what do you think the ideal that you would want your children to be?
Yeah. I guess we're getting hung up maybe a little bit on the word want.
Not really, no.
I would understand the reality of reality is that life would be sort of the easiest, supposedly, although I don't think life is necessarily supposed to be easy.
Oh my God. That is a word salad if I have ever seen one. Oh my goodness.
If I am correct, Lone Star State means that independence, freedom, and sovereignty are the dearest values.
So this is the extreme right-wing nationalist president of Hungary, Viktor Orban.
And
this is really scary stuff.
Then we have something in common. Even in Hungary is over 5,000 miles from Dallas. My country, Hungary, is the Lone Star State of Europe.
Oh, God. That's bad. You don't want that.
The main difference between our countries is that, unfortunately, the Ewing Oil Company is not paying corporate income tax in Budapest. But independence, freedom, and sovereignty is what we Hungarians fought for in the last 500 years.
Yikes.
We fought for Christianity in the Middle and Modern Ages. And we fought for Christian democracy in the 20th century and continue to fight to this day. We are a nation of 15 million in the heart of Europe with a unique language. Pope Francis once told me that Hungarian was the official language in heaven because it takes an eternity to learn. It's just a slight exaggeration. That's probably enough to know about Hungary.
Yeah.
As for myself,
he smartly identifies that the Cpac crowd doesn't give two you-know-whats about Hungary.
I am also the longest-serving prime minister in Europe, the only anti-migration political leader on our continent.
Very Trumpian, tooting his own horn, huh?
And grandfather to 5 grandchildren, a leader of a country that is under the siege of progressive liberals day by day.
Okay, creating himself as being endangered.
An anti-communist, old-fashioned freedom fighter, raised under communist rule, never dared to dream of. One of them is giving a speech at a Cpac here in the United States. In the land of the free,
Oh, God.
where the spirit of liberty shines brighter than at any other place on earth. Today, this dream came true, and I can never be grateful enough. So I want to thank the organizers for inviting me, especially Matt Schlapp, and thank you all for welcoming me. The most distinguished conservatives of the United States want me to speak at their conference.
Which is very scary.
During the last 2 or 3 weeks, what you want to hear from me. I come from a 1,000-year-old country with rich history, but let's be honest, Hungary is far from being a global superpower.
True.
The US is a global superpower. Your leaders should give an opening speech at our conferences in Hungary.
There's an idea.
But
and by our leaders, he means Tucker Carlson, who has spoken in Hungary.
Inviting me. For example, the leftist media. I can already see tomorrow's headlines. Far-right, European racist and anti-Semite strongman, the Trojan horse of Putin, holds speech at conservative conference.
Pretty accurate. That sounds pretty accurate. But I'm not confused by his presence here because he's exactly in line with the authoritarian Trumpist movement.
Them any ideas. They know best how to write fake news. Instead, I tell you the truth. In Hungary, we introduced a zero-tolerance policy on racism and anti-Semitism, so accusing us is fake news, and those who make these claims are simply idiots. They are the industrial fake news corporation. Progressive NGOs are probably confused as well. They are already busy writing their so-called research papers to inform Americans how I destroyed Hungarian democracy. According to their research, I managed to ruin Hungary's democracy in 2011. And then they say, I ruined it again in 2012. And then in 2013, and 14, and 15, and so on, each and every year. But how did I manage to destroy something that was already ruined? To answer to this question, you have to be a rabid liberal. Finally, with my invitation, you have surprised the elite of Democratic Party too.
No, we're not surprised.
I want to be clear. We respect the government of the United States. We are guests here, and we need to behave decently with the current administration as well. But there is another side of the coin, which I cannot ignore. Your administration has put Europe, and especially Brussels, under ideological pressure. This is not good for us. It's bad. The Obama administration tried to force us to change the fundamental law of Hungary and delete Christian and national values from it. Do you get it? The leading power of the free world wanted to force us to change our constitution according to a globalist liberal concept.
Uh-oh, here we go with globalists.
This came as a surprise and caused us a lot of pain. But we resisted this attempt successfully. Since then, we are not the favorites of the American Democrats. They did not want me to be here, and they made every effort to drive a wedge between us. They hate me and slander me and my country as they hate you and slander you and the America you stand for. We all know how this works. Progressive liberals didn't want me to be here because
I can't think of anyone who didn't want him to be there. He has every right to speak and he's invited. It's just a representation of the insane circumstances in which the Republican Party in the U.S. has become so authoritarian that they have more in common with extreme right-wing Eastern European nationalists than they do with, whoever else. It's not, oh, ban him. It's like, wow, it's crazy that they're having him speak.
We Hungarians defeated communism, which was forced on us by Soviet troops and arms. It took a while. We began our fight in 1956 and won in 1990. But we did it. Our fathers fired the first shot, and we, their sons, won the war. We know what we have Ronald Reagan to thank for.
Wow. Does the crowd even understand what he's talking about when he talks about history?
But communists are tough to beat. They rose from their ashes, came together with the liberals, and come back all around the world stronger than ever. If somebody has doubts whether progressive liberals and communists are the same, just ask us Hungarians. We fought them both, and I can tell you they are the same. So we had to defeat them again. And since 2010, we keep winning, winning, and winning. Last time, with the endorsement of Donald Trump, which we are grateful for. So much winning that we are just scratching our heads. You know, winning has become our daily habit. But we know the old saying, yesterday's home runs don't win today's games. I've been a member of
common saying in Hungary.
Spending 16 years in opposition and 16 years as prime minister. I learned that a quitter never wins and a winner never quits.
Wow.
This is the secret of our victories. You have to stand by your country in good times and in bad times. Dear friends, I'm here to tell you we should share our experiences. I am here to tell you that our values, the nation, Christian roots, and family can be successful in the political battlefield. Even nowadays, when political life is ruled by liberal hegemony. I am here to tell you how we made these values successful and mainstream in Hungary. Perhaps our story can help you keep America great. So here is our story. The key to our success story is that when we fight, we give at least 100%. We tell the truth and represent the truth, even if half the world attacks us for it. You cannot win half-heartedly. You either give everything you have got and win, or play it safe and lose. So first and foremost, we need to trust our Judeo-Christian teachings.
Yeah, as I've said before, when these people say Judeo-Christian, they do it so that you don't think it's just about Christianity, but most of them are either subtly or overtly anti-Semitic, and it's just a no on that. That's just another way that they sort of distract from the fact that they are Christian nationalists.
If questions, migration, gender, and the clash of civilizations, don't worry, a Christian politician cannot be racist. So we should never hesitate to heavily challenge our opponents on these issues. Be sure Christian values protect us from going too far. Moreover, we know that at the end of our life, the moment will come when all our actions will be judged. So you can't do anything, you have limits.
Did he just blow a snot rocket?
A man has got to know his limitations. But unfortunately, the left in politics does not know any limitations. And my friends, As it happens, today's progressives try to separate Western civilization from its Christian roots once again. They are crossing a line that should never be crossed. If you separate Western civilization from its Judeo-Christian heritage, the worst things in history happen. Let's be honest. The most evil things in modern history were carried out by people who hated Christianity. Don't be afraid to call your enemies by their name. You can't play safe, but they will never show mercy. Consider, for example, George Soros, as you call him here.
Oh no.
In Hungary, we call him Gyuri Bácsi, which means Uncle Georgie.
Here we go.
The wealthiest and one of the most talented Hungarians on earth. Just a hint, be careful with talented Hungarians.
Be very careful with a crafty Jewish man. Guys, this is crazy.
Of the things that we do. And he has an army at his service.
Oh my God.
Money, NGOs, universities, research institutions, and half the bureaucracy in Brussels. He uses this army to force his will on his opponents.
Imagine thinking George Soros is the big global problem to bring up.
Values dear to all of us led to the horrors of the 20th century. But the case is exactly the opposite. Our values save us from repeating history's mistakes.
By the way, this guy has a zero tolerance policy for anti-Semitism of any kind.
Some Western states in continental Europe abandoned their Christian values. And today's progressives are planning to do the same. They want to give up on Western values and create a new word, a post-Western word. Who is going to stop them if we don't? Dear friends, I have also learned that in order to win, it is not enough to know what you are fighting for. You also have to know how you should fight. My answer is play by your own rules. But how do you do that? It is as simple as it sounds. You must play to win. You cannot expect victory and plan for defeat. You have to believe that you are better than your left liberal opponents are. And don't care what the liberals say. They always say you will lose. They say it cannot be done. You just have to prove them wrong. But there is one thing I have learned. We cannot fight successfully by liberal means, because our opponents use liberal institutions, concept, and language to disguise their Marxist and hegemonist plans. Politics, my friend, are not enough.
Right.
This war is a culture war. We have to revitalize our churches, our families, our universities, and our community institutions.
Christianity will be the solution to all of these problems.
Hungary,
many of which don't exist.
Proud but David-sized nation, standing alone against the woke globalist Goliath. We invite the solidarity of the American conservatives. They are in total attack, so we need a total defense. You have to be brave. If you feel fear, you have a job to do. The only thing we Hungarians can show you is how to fight back by our own rules. Let me give you a couple of examples.
Oh no, he's got a rap. He's completely lost the crowd. And this is a very dangerous speech, by the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, we were the first ones in Europe who said no to illegal migration and stopped the invasion of illegal migrants.
You guys recognizing this rhetoric from anywhere?
We believe that stopping illegal migration is necessary to protect our nation.
The crowd's back, that's for sure.
I did to ask the people whether they want illegal migration or not. We held a referendum. Hungarian people decided they don't want migration, so they don't want to play by the rules of the progressives. They rejected the false claim that migrants cannot be stopped and forced us leaders to act. And we stopped illegal migration. We have actually built that wall, and it stopped illegal migration. As Tucker Carlson said when he visited us, quote, "It's not a high-tech wall, but guarded by people who love their country. And the border protection system works." During the Great Migration Crisis in 2015, 400,000 illegal migrants came to our borders. This is almost 3 times as much as Genghis Khan had when he invaded Europe. After we built
relevant comparison
to reduce illegal migration to 0. This year, we have already suffered 160,000 illegal border crossing attempts. 160,000 illegal border crossing attempts. So, we at the Hungarian borders catch every illegal migrant and escort them back to the other side of.
This sounds sort of like when the Ahmadinejad said Iran has no gay people. Something about this is seeming weird.
The rule is simple. You can apply for asylum at our embassies. But if you try to come to Hungary illegally, you will never, ever make it. Even though we are under pressure not only from the south, but also from the eggheads of the European Union as well. Yes, this is the case, my friend. They want us to give up our zero migration policy because they also know that this is the decisive and final battle of the future. But the future is the most important thing we can give to our children and our grandchildren. So, in Hungary, we will never surrender. Dear friends.
To who?
Let's move on family policy, which is the heart of our politics.
Oh my God. Is he supposed to be speaking this long?
That families should not be protected. In Europe, they say there is no such thing as family, because love is love and family is family. If you cannot define family, nothing is a family. And they say that
is this the homophobic part of the speech?
Is where the oppression of the so-called patriarchy begins. But in case of family policy, in Hungary, we again played by our own rules. We know that family is the place to transfer the values of parents to the next generation. If traditional families are gone, there is nothing that can save the West from going under. Therefore, last year in Hungary...
So far it's the policy, what he's laying out is no immigrants, Christian country, no bad people like George Soros, and only traditional families. Quite a country he's painting a picture of here.
The state takes over your student loans after your third child. Women are exempt from paying personal income tax for life after the birth of their fourth child. And we are fighting to extend the same zero tax policy for mothers with 3 children. So, if you are not married yet, you should immediately find a Hungarian wife.
There you go.
In the last 10 years, ladies and gentlemen, in the last 10 years, the number of marriages has doubled and the number of abortions has halved in Hungary. It's not a bad start.
And we will ban men.
Dear friends, in Hungary, we had to build not just a physical wall on our borders and the financial wall around our families, but a legal wall around our children to protect them from the gender ideology that targets them.
Here it goes. Will he do the routine where he pretends to lift weights like Trump?
Parents should follow the progressive way of parenting. If they refuse to do so, they should be forced by the state. We Hungarians know this old communist trick and we reject it. Hungarian people rejected sexual orientation programs in schools without parental consent at a referendum again.
Sounds like Trump.
Never before has there been a referendum in the long history of Hungary where such a huge majority of people said no to gender or anything. Now the Hungarian
They said no to gender or anything.
Constitution protects families and children. Let me quote a few sentences from our Hungarian fundamental law.
Oh no.
Our constitution reads, "The family and the nation constitute the principal framework of our coexistence. Hungarian state institutions are obliged to protect the Christian culture of Hungary. Hungary shall protect the institution of marriage as the union of one man and one woman."
It's not sounding to me like Hungary is a place I would ever be interested in living the way it's going right now.
Family ties shall be based on marriage or the relationship between parents and children. To sum up, the mother is a woman, the father is a man, and leave our kids alone. Full stop, end of discussion.
Wow. The blatantly homophobic, transphobic moments generating a standing ovation at Cpac. These people are sick. These people are disgusting. Look at this. They have not been this fired up until it became overtly homophobic and transphobic.
Dear friends, another factor of our success is that my government is devoted to law and order without compromise.
Right.
We decided we don't need more genders, we need more rangers.
We need more what? Rangers, did he say?
Chuck Norris. We believe there is no freedom without order. If there is no order, you get chaos. In Hungary, law enforcement agencies are not people's enemy. They are the guardians of freedom. Therefore, law should not protect criminals, but protect the victims and those who are defending the law. Police should be well respected. So,
I mean, this could be translated, it's in English. What I mean is the examples could be adjusted to be about the US rather than Hungary, and it would be a Trump speech verbatim.
Few European capitals where you can walk around safely, even in nighttime.
Wow, even at night you
In
can walk
Hungary,
around.
you will only hear more funds to the police.
That's crazy.
And finally, a few remarks on taxation.
It's very rare that in a country you can walk around at night. That's not common.
Always want your money. They love higher taxes. We believe that people should have their money in their own hands. To this end, we introduced a flat tax on personal income, which is currently 15%.
What's funny is there's a lot of people in the audience who don't realize that based on their income, their effective tax rate might already be 15% or lower. They have no idea.
Which was the biggest tax cut in Europe. We have the lowest corporate income tax in Europe, which is flat, 9%. With this low corporate income tax last year, We had a 27% investment rate, which was among the best in Europe. Just recently, we came under fire again when we went against the global minimum tax initiative.
By the way, if all these initiatives are so great for their economy, why is their economy not doing so well?
Hungary is the last man standing, but the empire always strikes back. The current US administration decided to terminate the tax treaty between Hungary and the United States, which was probably the best tax deal ever negotiated. It was good for US investors. There are 1,700 US companies operating in Hungary. I think it was indeed the revenge of the left, because the US Treasury somehow forgot that they have a very similar treaty with Russia, but not with Hungary anymore. Funny, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we need to talk about the war. The war. Ukraine is our neighbor. We are in full solidarity with them. The attack
mild clapping
against Ukraine has forced close to 1 million refugees to Hungary so far. Currently, more than 10,000 refugees every day. The majority of these refugees ventures further into Europe, but 1 million people entering a country of 10 million is a lot. In my view,
didn't he just say they have 15 million people? Like earlier in the speech, he said the population was 15 million. Now he says that they just lost 5 million people during the speech.
Of peace. Without American-Russian talks, there will never be peace in Ukraine. More and more people will die and suffer, and our economies will come to the brink of collapse. I cannot tell you what to do. It's your sovereign decision. I can, however, tell you one thing. Only strong leaders are able to make peace. We in the neighborhood of Ukraine.
This speech is so bad, 5 million people left Hungary.
Strong leaders who are capable of negotiating a peace deal. May they please help us. We need a strong America with a strong leader. Dear friends, dear friends, I think I have provoked you long enough.
Yeah, please.
So before Matchlap takes my microphone away, let's come to a conclusion. The world has several great nations, but none with the power and influence of the United States. For better or for worse, the world looks to you for the future. And the future of the West is in grave doubt. We in the West have not faced a crisis like this for a long time. The ideological wars of the 20th century against the totalitarian powers of Nazi Germany and Soviet Union were terrible. But democratic West rallied and defeated them both. Now the West is at war with itself. We have seen what kind of future the globalist ruling class has to offer. But we have a different future in mind. The globalists can all go to hell. I have come to Texas.
Obama. Please proceed, Governor. And we will ban men.
Very, very low information crowd, huh? No offense to Hungary, but imagine being in the US and you're like, wow, our big ally is this nut from Hungary.
Victory will never be found by taking the path of least resistance. We must take back the institutions in Washington and in Brussels. We must find friends and allies in one another. We must coordinate the movement of our troops because we face the same challenge. You have midterm elections this year, then presidential and congressional elections in 24. And we will have election in the European Parliament same year. These two locations will define the two fronts in the battle being fought for Western civilization. Today we hold neither of them, yet we need both. You have 2 years to get ready. I have to tell, it won't be easy, but don't be afraid. Just believe in Saint John Paul's, the Polish Pope's teaching. There is no enemy that Christ has not already defeated. So let's go out and do it. God bless Texas. God bless our friendship. Good luck and goodbye.
Yeah. Wow. Look at this guy. Oh, what a strange walk. Dear God. All right. Anyway, that was genuinely horrifying. I mean, genuinely, people in the audience saying it was unsettling, that it was dangerous, that it was scary. Yeah, he has that dictatorial ambition. We're going to skip this. This, I believe, based on the agenda, is Attorney General of Texas, Jeff Landry. I really could not care less what this guy has to say. He's absolutely horrifying. We're going to keep an eye on things because coming up very soon, Papa John, the anti-health insurance pizza guy, will be speaking. Dan Patrick, the lieutenant governor of Texas, will be speaking. And then Fox News propagandist Sean Hannity will be speaking. That's all coming up here. So please stand by. A lot going on today. A lot. And I have so many things I want to go over with you as well. But what an absolutely fascist dystopia outlined there by the Hungarian president, Viktor Orban. Horrible stuff. Mart Fillion via Super Chat saying, do you still need people giving free memberships? Yeah, listen, we have 300 people who have requested free memberships right now. If you want a free membership, new and improved as of this week, go to davidpakman.com/free membership. Just fill in your name and email, and then we'll get you a free membership as they come in. Now, if you can give a free membership, this would be an absolutely perfect time to do it. Go to our website, joinpakman.com. Check the box. This is a gift if you want to give away a membership. And we do have a coupon code, OBAMNA. And when you type that in, the prices become absolutely criminal, almost as criminal as what Alex Jones seems to be wrapped up in. So it sounds like communism because it is. It is indeed memberships, and I will thank everybody. Oh, and 3 people just signed up. Juan, Trollman Juan, has gifted a membership. Kevin Gouldy has gifted a membership. And Martin Fillion has gifted a membership. That puts us at 40. I also want to make sure everyone on Twitch gets a thank you. That includes J. Cruz con queso, Jen here for the gift and sub, Good Guy JJ, and Charles Wieland. That puts us at 46 today. Very much appreciate that. Ian says this is despicable ear and hate speech. In Aotearoa, New Zealand, we were successful with SARS-CoV-2. This mind virus has a long incubation and is transmitted without any contact. It is spreading here. Oh, you guys have Trumpism in New Zealand? Is that what you're saying? That doesn't sound particularly good. Thanks to Linda Acevedo for the subscription at joinpacman.com. You're number 47 today. Let's do some unban requests. This is extraordinarily risky. When you get banned on Twitch, you are able to request an unban. Okay? So let's see if we can do this here. How do I do this? There we go. Okay. So a user who goes by the name Fart Brazil showed up and put KEKW about 100 times and then said, imagine voting for Demented Joe over this patriot. I don't love this. Let's see if we can get there we go. That's just a permaban and I don't even care. Okay. It's a permaban. Next user, iJoy, showed up and said only you are a pussy. And that's a permaban. Very, very easy one. These are easy. Next user, Sahira. You centrist liberals are awful. What else did they say? Liberals telling me to move to a different country. Instigating a lot of stuff. This is an unban. It seemed they just needed to cool off. I'm okay unbanning that. Here's a user who showed up and just did, looks like penis art. That's just a permaban. That's too stupid. Permaban. Gay, and then, okay, yeah, this is a permaban. These are just too easy, guys. I can adjudicate these. They signed up and said David Cuckman, and then their unban request was President Gay Biden. That's a permaban. Let's see. Trump would have our border secure. Gas would be cheap. Trump 24. As long as they're crazy libtards, you ain't going to stop them from murdering. Demon rats are the #1 enemy of America. Extend, you are a fool. Trump had everything going strong. They were banned. Their unban request is free speech, girls. That's a deny. Just, I don't need you here. These are so easy. Here's another user, Oggs Naboni, who said fake made up story. Barack Iran bent you over for 8 years. Empty platitudes, no substance. Geesh, this guy is a fraud. They were banned. Fake outrage for Trump naming the victims. Effing slimeball streaming it for profit. That's a permaban. Love Trump 24. Love Trump. He's great. The Democrats are in the process of wrecking the USA. They were banned. And then their unban request is, why am I banned? Have you taken a look at what the Democrats have done to the USA since my comment? I think that's a permaban. Just, it's hard to imagine they're going to come back. Penguin Pusher showed up and said, David Pacman, more like F my ass, man. Their unban request is, my bad. It was just a meme. That was out of line. I promise not to say crazy, inappropriate stuff like that. All right, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. That's an unban. Build that wall and let Mexico have Sleepy Joe. Build that wall. Build that wall. They were banned. Then they said, sorry, guess it was the weekend for me. I was probably drunk. I'm not usually retarded like that. That's just a permaban based. If you're going to try to get yourself unbanned by saying retarded, it's a perma, guys. I mean, this is just crazy. Here's another user, Heshrat. They said to someone, show me your titties in the chat. That's a no. I mean, it's just a no. I made a joke in poor taste and meant it as a joke, not literally. I could go either way on this one. I mean, they're saying it was a joke. What do you guys think? It's completely inappropriate, but they're saying it was a joke. Unban, unban, unban. Give them another chance. All right, we can. They get a chance. How many more? Oh, just 2 more. God, I'm getting sick of this. Minister of Truth. They scared of free speech. The People 2024. 100 minutes is still almost 100 more minutes than Biden can do. Hi, I'm confused. I don't know which comment got me banned. Apologize. Yeah, this is an unban. I can very easily see that's an unban. And then lastly, thoughts on Hunter Biden's laptop. Biden only had 90% of MSM stations colluding to carry his decrepit tush across the finish line. They were banned. Sorry that you're too much of a coward to deal with opposing thoughts, you boring fraud. That's a deny. This would be an unban if their unban request was polite. but because the unban request was so rude, it's a perma. All right, guys, so we've done that. I'm glad to have taken care of that business as we wait here for the next speakers. I want to say thank you to Breezy, AJ, Scorpia, and Slippenshank for the Twitch Prime subscriptions. Folks, that puts us at 50. Over on the website, Andy King is a new member, number 51. And David Levin has gifted a subscription. That's number 52. Very, very much appreciate that. And then now, via Super Chat, David, I try to catch you live when I can, but can't always do so. I listen to your program every night, and you're my favorite centrist. Oh, my God, no. Guys, I hope that that's a joke. As we all know, I've taken my political compass tests endless times. And it's very, very left. Very left. All right, let's look at a couple of other things. I don't know how many of you saw this, but Glenn Greenwald, one of the last true leftists, Glenn Greenwald, sort of whitewashed Alex Jones's handling of Sandy Hook. Take a listen to this.
So, I mentioned before, I want to ask you a little bit about Sandy Hook. I know the expectation is I'm supposed to come here and bash you over the head about Sandy Hook.
Go ahead, I deserve it.
No, I have no interest in doing that. I don't give a shit what the expectations are. It would bore me if I tried. You've talked about it extensively for people who are interested in it. You've been deposed about it. You've talked for hours about it. People interested in the particulars can go watch that if they want. I'm not going to jump through hoops in order to appease people angry that I'm here. I do, though, want to ask you about a question that I'm actually interested in myself, which is, you have you just said that you have made mistakes. Obviously, one of those is the stuff you said about Sandy Hook. We watched you in the film come very clean about the fact that you made statements that turned out to be untrue. You've obviously spent a lot of kind of reflective time. It's like the soulful Alex Jones we got to see in the last part of the...
He's really reflected on his mistakes.
The film. What is it that you think caused you to do that? You reference some things, and I identify with it myself, that when, people who lie for a living are telling you that you're a liar, when people who are whose job it is to spread disinformation are accusing you of doing that, you kind of want to dig in a little bit and not give an inch to people who aren't criticizing you in good faith. But what is it about kind of how social media works, about how kind of...
Yeah, Alex, tell us how social media victimized you and all of that stuff.
Groups function? Have you thought about some of the psychological and cultural dynamics that led you to make some of those mistakes?
Alex, please tell us how all of the horrible things you said about Sandy Hook, including that the deaths of children were imagined, tell us how that was actually a result of how social media treated you. Dear God, that is Glenn Greenwald. Off the rails, completely off the rails. Here is Papa John, who will soon be speaking. Let's listen to what he has to say. He's the pizza man who opposed Obamacare because it was going to cost him like 10 cents a pizza to give every employee health care. So he was against it.
Papa John's, John Schnatter. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Liz, for having me.
Thank you. So you are speaking around 3 p.m. today. What is the topic of conversation going to be today for you?
Yeah. Well, what we're going to talk about is the comparisons analogetically between the 1970s and the 2020s. We've seen this movie before. What's the saying that if you don't learn from history, repeat the same mistakes?
Absolutely.
We had,
What?
Interest rates doubled, tripled. Gas prices were exorbitant. If you could even get to the pump, we had weak leadership on foreign.
This is who's speaking about economics at Cpac?
My dad started 5 or 6 businesses. He was a serial entrepreneur.
That's where you get it from.
Got it from genetically, yeah. And all 6 of them bankrupted.
Wow.
And so...
Not such a good businessman, I guess. He's like, what a great businessman. He's like, all his businesses went bankrupt. Oh, wow.
And really anti-entrepreneurship sentiment, you have to walk a mile in their shoes.
Yeah.
And I watched my dad, I watched the family. I don't know if you've ever been bankrupt or had trouble paying your bills, but after 5 or 6 fold.
She's bankrupted a dozen companies.
Ronald Reagan comes in, Reaganomics. And then 1984, I started Papa John's. And $1,600 in a broom closet in the back of the bar, and then we did $4 billion the last year I was there. I couldn't have done that without.
When he says last year I was there, he was like pushed out, right, for some of the insane things he said. Wasn't he pushed out of running Papa John's, I think? All right, so we're going to hear from him very soon. Marianne Zimmerman says, Dear David, please tell your audience that Orban in no way represents the EU. Orban is a parasite in Europe, and there are serious talks on how to kick Hungary out of the EU. Love from Copenhagen, Denmark. Thank you, Marianne, for the update. That's relevant context, I would say. Hit the like button. This man deserves it. Absolutely, Emily. Thank you. Please like the stream if you are watching on YouTube. We have a humiliating 800 likes in a completely arbitrary and meaningless metric, and it's making us look bad. David, please rank the contemporary threats are reported by Mr. Jones. Dracula, Wolfman, Frankenstein, Mummy, and Bigfoot. I would say that the biggest threat is Wolfman, followed by Bigfoot, Dracula, Mummy, and then Frankenstein last. That's how I would rank those threats. Can we start a petition to rename Papa John's to Pizza Shack, SHAQ? I mean, do whatever you want. You're not going to find me having any Papa John's pizza. That's for damn sure. I go with local pizzerias. Local. Thank you to Elevated Disc Golf for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 53 today. Folks, if we get to 100 today, we lock in another, at least one more stream tomorrow. Either or the Prump Rally or Cpac Day 2. The two ways to trigger this are, number one, sign up on my website, joinpacman.com. Memberships are our primary source of funding. You can use the coupon code INDICT to get a discount. I would love for you to do that. If you're watching on Twitch, you can also sign up via Twitch or Twitch Prime. And that'll also count, which is a beautiful thing. Okay, let's get to a few other things here. Here is Matt Gaetz. This is a really strange thing Matt Gaetz said. Matt Gaetz says migrants are creating food shortages by destroying monarch butterfly habitats. I have never heard this before.
Our America is not for the illegal aliens who leave our nation poorer, dirtier, and less safe. They have made a mockery of our laws, and illegal aliens have destroyed some of the most critical monarch butterfly habitat in the world.
Now he cares about that. These are the people where when you go, hey, oil usage is killing 1,000 species a year. They go, what, you care about some salamander, man? You care about some frog? And then now all of a sudden he's like, butterflies are getting killed.
I bet you didn't know that. And before you say the monarch butterfly is not all that significant, we need the monarch butterfly to pollinate our fields for the food that we eat here in our country.
What about bees? This is wild. How can anyone take these people seriously? I mean, truly, it is bizarre. Bizarre. A friend for Ian says, via Super Chat, a friend from university is a Trumpist. We met for beers and he told me this. Luckily, I'd watched your show that day and schooled him on tariffs. Excellent. I may have missed it, but David, do you know if Ivana Trump was cremated? Because if she was, then what is buried on the golf course? I have no idea, Emily. I quite frankly, I did not follow that. This is sick. Monarch butterflies are symbols of hope for immigrants, particularly Mexican immigrants. I have no idea if that's a joke. I genuinely have no clue whether that's a joke. Thanks to Shorty for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 54 today. We are standing by for the resumption of Cpac. I did want to see if we had any other streams. It's always good to have a backup stream. Cpac Live. Let's see what we've got here. Live. There really aren't that many streams today, huh? Let's see if we've got more. There's like a very low quality stream that I found. Let's see if on the Cpac website itself there's anything while we listen to Papa John.
Arithmetic's an opinion. I mean, I ask them, are you angry because you're stupid? Or are you stupid because you're angry? And the answer is the latter. They're stupid because they're angry. They're so full of hate and guilt and shame.
All right, here's another stream of this stuff. Let's see what we've got here. Is this live? It appears to be.
Certainly a lot of that crime has to do with defunding the police and Democrat judges and Democrat districts of attorney that simply won't prosecute and let people out with personal recognizance, no bail.
In looking at the agenda, it seems that this is
Tens of thousands of illegal
Biden has cue cards. We have a solution, it's called. And then after this, Papa John will be speaking.
in the United States has served time and then been deported, and now they're coming back in. There are thousands of those type of people, and the American people are paying through the nose in blood and toil and treasure.
All right, so we're going to mute that for now.
And we got to educate all these people.
Heck?
We've got to medicate all these
That's right. And I got to say, Sarah, first of all, you left
I muted
the state
this
of
tab
Virginia.
and it's
She
not
was
muted.
living up near me. She was literally my neighbor. And all of a sudden I get a call from her. She's like, I'm moving to Texas. I'm like, what?
Okay. We're just going to silence that for the time being, and then we're going to get back to that. We're going to get back to that momentarily. Very, very strange stuff going on. All right. I know a lot of you are anxious to see some new clips from the Alex Jones trial. Here's, okay. Here was a reference to intimate messages between Alex Jones and Roger Stone. It's kind of interesting.
There's all of the stuff in there. He cannot now come into court and claim 2.3 gigabytes of phone material, blanket designation of confidentiality. The protective order prohibits that. You must identify specifically the documents that are. And things like Mr. Jones and his intimate messages with Roger Stone are not confidential. They are not trade secrets.
Intimate messages. That would be very interesting to learn more about. Let's see what else we have here. Okay, so clips from the Orban disaster that we watched. Let's see if we have any more Alex Jones stuff. MAGA World celebrates. We know about that. A lot of Cpac stuff. Where are the new Alex Jones clips? I'm sure that I have them. Oh, yeah, this was kind of a funny moment. This is in today's podcast.
What compensation would you believe to be appropriate?
What compensation do I think appropriate? Despite these numbers that were presented the best week we ever had, that's when COVID was starting, and there was a run on storable food nationwide, and so they...
Mr. Jones.
No, I'm just saying.
We don't... What
speaking of compensation
would you believe to be appropriate? It doesn't really matter about that.
I understand, but I can answer the question however I wish. I'm not barred from talking about where we're at financially.
No, you are at this stage. Right now, the question is what compensation would be appropriate?
Any compensation above $2 million will sink us and we'll be shut down.
No, appropriate, not to you. Appropriate for what happened to them.
I mean, I think it's appropriate for whatever you decide you want to do,
Okay.
because I'm really.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
That is the exact answer the judge was looking for. Guys, more than a $2 million award, will sink InfoWars. Pretty based, I've got to tell you. Very, very interesting. Alex Jones is now promoting InstaHard. Huh. Interesting. What else do we have here? This was earlier. All right. Oh, Marjorie Taylor Greene. What's she up to?
They call this common phrases and references. And they consider, they said that militia violent extremists talk about certain individuals to be martyrs. And one of the names they just recently added is Ashley Babbitt, who was an unarmed woman who was shot and killed inside the Capitol on January 6th, who, by the way, is on video hitting someone in the face that was breaking the glass to go into the speaker's lobby. Ashley Babbitt was someone that was trying to stop them from going in, and that's on video, and there's proof of it. but yet now her name is on this FBI militia violent extremism list. This is completely wrong. This is absolutely wrong. Ashley Babbitt was a veteran. She was not someone that was interested in attacking the United States government. She was trying to stop them just because she was walking around in there.
That's not what an entire investigation found, actually. Like, the entire investigation did not find that that's what took place. But I guess we're supposed to believe Marjorie Taylor Greene knows more. Chandler says, speaking of gas prices, as John was mentioning, I noticed that gas prices here in Texas are going back to normal. The lowest price in my town is $3.59. Yeah, let's take a look at the latest chart as far as gas prices go. They're really coming down very quickly. Gas prices basically started declining around mid-June, and they continue down. Soon, national gas prices might even go below $4 a gallon. They were over $5. That's that will be more than a 20% reduction. It's quite notable. I'm not even praising Joe Biden for it, as you guys all know. I don't play these games with gas prices. I mean, I'll jokingly play them, but I'm not actually being serious about it. Presidents have very, very, very little to do with gas prices, and big dumps. Prices are dumping. That's absolutely for sure. Let's see what else I had here. Oh, we were looking at a couple of other things here. Let's see what else we've got. Biden. Where is... Oh, this was weird. Ted Cruz put a boot up on the counter during a speech, during a hearing today.
Violent extremist militia. Well, I will self-report right now that every day in the Senate I wear my boots that have the Gonzales battle flag on the back of them.
Right. Very, very important declaration that Ted Cruz made there, showing us his boots. And let's see what else we have here. The Alex Jones stuff we've been talking about. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's against the Inflation Reduction Act.
And I think it should be called the Bring Back Blackouts bill, because that's what it's all about.
No, the blackouts are in Texas.
It's going to plunge us back in time, before the luxuries of things like air conditioning and heat and refrigeration, maybe hot showers in the wintertime. And
so she has no idea what she's talking about. That's for damn sure. Let's see what else we have here. After Alex Jones' lawyers claim plaintiff lawyers violated their attorney-client privilege with his text messages, he informs the court they had previously inadvertently disclosed other privileged info that the court isn't even aware of. Oh, this I have to hear.
What's interesting to me is this is not the first time that materials like this have been inadvertently produced in this case. As you may remember from prior hearings, Mr. Barnes inadvertently produced materials. Now, in that case, some of that information ended up coming out. They ended up letting me keep some of it, and we ended up talking about it. But there were attorney-client communications in there, which you don't know about, which I do, which they did follow 193.3. And they did identify those slide page numbers, said here is the privilege. And when that happened, I promptly returned them and destroyed all my copies. Mr. Reynal is right now using a fig leaf of this motion to say I violated things, to put a fig leaf over his own malpractice, over his own absolute breach of his duties.
Man, the trial has become such a joke. It's truly stunning. Truly, truly stunning. All right, it looks like this is fortunately ending. Let's see.
Or Kamala Harris. They're like, y'all stay away from us because they're so unpopular.
Right. They don't even want them on the campaign trail.
And I've been endorsed by President Trump. He called me and gave me his endorsement.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that very much.
But he was right about being woke. You brought it up, Mercedes. You were saying, what is your pronoun? I mean, I think that's what we're seeing now, right? We're seeing this kind of radical leftist movement in our schools.
We are.
And on television and at the hearings, and we hear it creeping through our society. And then if you disagree with the radical left, they try to ostracize you. They relegate you to censorship and their friends in the media like Twitter and Facebook and these big social media giants that we all use because it all became a part of our life, right? We're globally connected and we rely on that. And then all of a sudden we realize, well, wait a minute. We're living really in 1984.
Right.
In a future where,
it's literally 1984.
We have to know what's going on. And all of these pieces need to fit. I mean, we can't just say because President Biden's been the worst president we've ever seen. I mean, he made Jimmy Carter smile. We were talking about that, but the worst president, that we're going to just win this, that November's going to come and we don't need to do anything, or that 2024 is going to get here and we're going to have a new man in office. That may not necessarily be the case.
Let's hope.
We can't underestimate what the Democrats are willing and going to try to do, and the political machine behind them. And I think that's what makes Cpac so miraculous and important, is that
it's a miracle.
Here is a place where we can get together, talk out our issues, work together as a team, and fight to win our country back. And that is absolutely what we have to do.
And
Absolutely.
Congressman, let me ask you, when it comes to election integrity, this seems to be an issue that keeps popping up. And I know we travel across the country, and it's very basic things like ensuring we have a voter ID in place.
God.
And then you have the
These people are horrible. Hey, by the way, I haven't looked into this. Can anybody explain to me what Dark Brandon is? Somebody in the chat just mentioned it, and I saw that this morning trending. What the hell is Dark Brandon? I don't know. Is it pro-Biden or anti-Biden? I don't even understand what it is. By the way, thanks to SCR-PZR for the Twitch Prime subscription. You're number 55 today. Dark Brandon is pro-Biden. It's an ironic pro-Biden meme. Okay, that's interesting. Dark Brandon. Dear God. It's interesting, though, nonetheless. Let's do a couple voicemails as we wait for the next speaker, Papa John. Here is a voicemail from Juan.
Hey, David, it's Juan here. So I'm watching you live, and the guy says that communists and progressives are the same. Well, I'm taking your advice, and I'm trying to dissect and perhaps debunk what he said, and I hope you could see if I get some perks and improvement here. I think he's wrong based on a quick Google search.
Yeah, listen, no. Communists and progressives are not the same thing. Progressivism is one thing. Communism is another thing. Social. You don't even need to Google that, Juan. Your instinct was correct, though. Your instinct was correct. Hey, this is one of our viewers who's black, and his name is Brandon. He says he is Dark Brandon. I guess in a sense that's technically true. Very nicely done, Brandon. I like that. A lot of people getting very, very fired up about Dark Brandon. Oh, man. That is something else. Let's see what else we have as far as voicemails go.
Hey, David, it's Aiden from Canada. So, few parts of this Alex Jones trial that, I mean, I got to give you credit for this because you've called this many times. One time in the Alex Jones trial, he's asked about kind of why he would believe these things, and like you presumed or explained many times, he says, well, it's just kind of hard. It's easier to believe there's a conspiracy than to believe someone would shoot up a school. He said it's just hard to believe that. Another time, his assistant was testifying, and she said that it's easier for their audience to believe these things than to believe that someone could shoot up a school. And this is just what you've been saying for a long time. So,
okay. Let's see what else we have here.
Hey, David. I'm wondering, how is our friend Pillow going to be using his coffee? Well, he's suing all machines, so that would presumably include Keurigs. It would include, espresso makers. So maybe even potentially, depending on the courts, maybe even French presses. So how do you think he's going to be using the coffee? I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I assume coffee enemas is what Pillow is going to be doing. That's the only thing I can think of.
David, how you doing, man? James from Virginia. I am dying right now watching your show and just watching your face during the utter collapse of Alex Jones' confidence while being confronted with a brilliant display by the plaintiff. Oh my God, your face says it all, brother. It is great. Anyway, it's wonderful to see him finally be confronted with truth instead of, what he does for a living.
Yeah, it turns out
anyway,
that
love your show, brother.
During when the rules are the rules of a court of law, the things Alex Jones says very quickly implode and don't make any sense at all, as if they made sense anyway. Let's see what other voicemails we have here as we stand by for the next element. What else do we have? A lot of strange voicemails here, I will say.
Hey, David and Jeff from Colorado. I just had a question regarding the text messages that have been scrubbed from DOD phones, Secret Service, etc. Isn't there a cloud backup that's automatically
you would think
performed on at least iPhones, or do they block those procedures from happening as well? Thanks a lot. Love the show. Bye.
It's all part of what's weird. There's no way that is not a question that should be asked. Let's see what we have going on here and listen a bit.
And you had also the right. They wouldn't let us even talk about Hunter Biden. They didn't even investigate into this.
Right. We couldn't even utter the words Hunter Biden.
We could not
because
during the election.
Everybody was so sure.
Covered it up. Yeah.
So when the FBI is telling you and telling me, oh, you got to stop that. That don't go any further down that road. And then we find out Christopher Steele's dossier was a bunch of lies, that they were perpetrating lies that were based on Democratic talking points that were perpetuated by Hillary Clinton and her lawyers and the DNC, and it became a huge problem America was embroiled in for over 5 years. And then we see the truth, which of course is Hunter Biden and his laptop, and then they use it and turn against us and say, no, that's not true.
The real story here is Hunter Biden's laptop.
The National Security Task Force, the Republican Conference. And I can tell you one thing you're going to start seeing when we get the majority back in January, and that is a lot of...
There's evidence that Hunter was able to beat Minesweeper on the hardest level, and that suggests that he was cheating, and it needs to be investigated.
Topics, and we can't choose the topic. We can't choose a witness for the most part. We can't get a bill to the floor.
Right.
We're pretty much just basically having a message. That's all we have. But I can tell you the oversight committees and every single committee that we have in the House of Representatives will be doing oversight hearings of our own. And we will be looking in and we will bring people forward. The FBI doesn't want to do their job, apparently. We've seen that. So we're going to do it for them. Of course, we have to.
It's interesting how these people live in a complete alternate reality where they say the FBI is doing things that aren't happening. They believe the Hunter Biden laptop is the real story. They continue to talk about Hillary's emails. They continue to insist that the 2020 election was stolen. It's a complete and total fantasy world where it's not that they have different facts. They just have no facts. Facts don't matter.
We'll do, Mercedes. 30 seconds to each of you as we've delved into Joe Biden's, I think, big problems that he has, and we only got through half of them. What are your thoughts moving forward and your final thoughts on this?
My final thoughts are this. I mean, it's going to be, and I say this every time on my podcast, it's up to the American people. We're in charge, and we have to remember that. It's not about Washington, D.C. We're the boss. We hire them, of course, Congressman, and with all due respect, we hire them to do the work for us as constituents. And until we got to get up off the couch, we got to get involved, we've got to get politically active, to ensure that they are doing that job. And when they don't, we got to vote them out and say goodbye. Okay. And that is going to make a difference. 2024 cannot come fast enough. And by God, midterms cannot come fast enough. But that requires all of us to do our part and to do our role as Americans is to get out there and vote. And I believe in that wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Congressman.
I didn't think I would ever see the United States of America in this state that we are seeing today. I've served in the U.S. Air Force. I've served in the U.S. Army. My son was a Navy SEAL. My dad was a U.S. Army trooper in the Pacific during World War II. And the debacle we saw in Afghanistan, the withdrawal, and the ramifications, repercussions of that, I don't think you would have seen a Ukrainian invasion by Russia had we had President Trump in there, believe you me. But we have got to have new leadership. The American, I think it was Alexander the Great said, it's not an army of lions led by sheep that I fear. It's an army of sheep led by a lion.
Oh.
We've got to get some lions in the leadership positions of this country. We've got to get some honest government. And it's up, we're a nation by, of, and for the people. The people have got to go to the polls, and they're the ones that have to make this choice. I have people come up and say, Congressman, why do you allow this to happen? How come you can't stop this? How come you're doing this or not doing that? And I say, elections have consequences. And by gosh, they have consequences, and we're living them right today. And every time you go fill your car up, every time you go buy groceries, whenever you see someone having their rights taken away from them, a weaponized DOJ or FBI, the corruption that is going on in this nation is unbelievable. But it can be fixed, and it can be fixed at the ballot box, folks. So we have to do our job, and we have to get a lion to lead this country.
It's quite pedantic, all of it, really.
All right.
We don't have a choice.
Well, Lioness and Lion here on stage. Let's give a round of applause for Sarah Carter and Congressman Babin. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
That was so fun.
Thank you.
You're so wonderful. Congressman, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. All right, we've got two more sensational congressmen coming up here to talk about the solutions, and I'm going to introduce them. Let's give a round of applause, Congressman Byron Donalds from the great state of Florida, and Congressman Roger Williams from the great state of Texas.
All right, Papa John comes up after these guys. I'm going to take a 5, and then we'll be back for Papa John, but the stream continues.
Woo! Okay, I think the women in the front almost fainted when they saw Byron, but...
Cpac.
Yeah, right.
Do you see her hand motions over here?
What was it? It was fabulous.
Did you guys see this over here?
No, what was it? What was it?
Woo!
Everybody at the same time. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Woo! That's going to be our new Cpac, like, secret handshake, you know? Yeah, exactly. There we go. Okay, guys, gentlemen, it's wonderful to see you. You were with your wife doing the Cpac activism boot camp training. How fabulous was that?
It was just like this.
Yeah.
Activism training was fantastic. There's so many people right here in Dallas, Texas. The conservative movement is alive and well, passionate about everything from education to border security, making sure we get back on track. My wife is right over there, my wife Erica.
Where's Erica?
There you go, wave over there.
Stand up, Erica.
Stand up, go ahead. Stand up and wave.
There she is.
That's her over there. But it was a great event, and I think the biggest thing is people, of course they're tired, but they want to do something about it. And I think that the conservative movement is prepared to do something about it, and not just in 2022, but in every year to come. The time has come for us to step up, take on this battle, take the country back, save America again.
Again.
We got to save it again. but we're going to do that work starting this November.
Congressman Roger Williams, first off, I'm a fan of both of you. We were just talking with Sarah and with one of your colleagues, Congressman Babin. We were talking about all the bad problems. I mean, it was dark. It was sad. We didn't even get through half the problems. It was like a list. But here you are. We're the happy warriors. We got to find solutions to these problems. So this is going to be a very tough task. But let's go and break this down. So Congressman Williams, I'll start with you. How do we solve these very complex problems where the Democrats, they can't even define what a woman is. They can't even define what recession is, and they think men can get pregnant. Break it down for me.
That scares me to death. But listen, you know, this is an important time. Every year we've always said, haven't we, that this is the most important election of our lifetime.
Yes,
haven't
right.
we said that so many
You're
times?
right.
I believe this is the most important election of our lifetime. And we've got to have answers. We don't want to just have rhetoric. We got to make sure we don't overpromise. I've said all along, we need to pick 3 or 4 things we can do and make it happen as we go into 2024. But this is serious stuff that we're involved in. Just all the things, Mercedes, that you said. Who would have thought we'd ever be negotiating this or even talking about it? But we're on the right track. We are the party of lower taxes, less government. We try to cut spending, defend borders. This is what we stand for. And we're going to have to start making people understand where what we stand for, and we have to be able to say it. I was in the airport the other day, and when I got off the airplane, people knew that I was on the airplane, about 15 of them, and they began to yell and scream at me with signs and try to follow me up the elevator. And in the past, Byron, I've kind of let it go, right? Because we're peaceful people. We got things to get done. But I had all I could take. And I dropped my briefcase, and I remember thinking to myself, I hope somebody is taping this. Because this woman was yelling at me about this and that, and her body and this and that, and I finally fired back at her. I didn't say anything bad, but I fired back at her with the truth, right? The truth's on our side. We're on the right side. And all of a sudden, she broke down and just started crying. And she said, I've never been talked to by a man like that in my life. Well, I was talking about America and the great things that we have. And her husband took her away. And I tell you that story only because in the past, we may not have been fighters. We have been thinkers. But the other side cannot take a punch. They showed me that the other day. They don't have truth on their side. They don't have facts on their side. All they do is lie. And we have to fire back at them, and we have to run through the finish line, and people need to know that the best government is the less government, and all the things we believe in conservative values. But we're on the right side. We have to sell it. We have to punch them back because they can't take a punch. And that's what I would say. That's our charge as we go into this next several months, is to remember who we are, what we are, and we got to make things like tax cuts permanent. That has to happen. We're coming out of the greatest economy we ever saw, and we saw it torn up in 18 months. I'm a small business owner. I employ hundreds of people right next door in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm old enough, I remember in 1981 and high inflation and high interest rates. But we've seen the greatest economy come down now to once very average. We have to build it back. We can, and I think we will. We got the greatest workforce there is in the world if we let them work, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And we've got and small business we can have startups again. Main Street still employs 75% of the workforce, 75% of the payroll is in small businesses. They're being attacked by this guy and Joe Manchin, for crying out loud. And to help small business, he's saying in Main Street, well, we're going to raise your taxes. We're going to hire 67 or 87,000 IRS agents. And oh, by the way, don't deduct that interest. But we're helping small business. This is the kind of stuff they lie all the time. We got to fix it. We will fix it by getting the House back in November and then moving forward and getting the White House back in 2024.
Byron, let's talk about this. I think it's going to be a massive red wave. I really do. I think it's going to be loud and clear. We're going to win the House. We're going to win back the Senate. But what are Republicans going to do when they're in power? What do you think are the first, let's say, 2 or 3 agenda items that you think they're going to want to accomplish when they regain
look, let me
power?
tell you, the first one is we're going to have to deal with border security. And I'm telling you, this is different. I want to lay this out for everybody. You have immigration policy. That's visas, pathways into the country, what do you do about asylum procedures? But then you have border security. You cannot have a country when the drug cartels are making $15 billion a year trafficking people and trafficking fentanyl into the United States. So the number one thing we got to do Number one thing we got to do is, and when we start coming up with spending bills that are going to come up under House Republican control, we have to put in there hard and fast that Joe Biden is not allowed to spend money on allowing the cartel to traffic people into the United States. That our border agents have to have the ability to make determinations of credible fear at the border. Now, what does that mean? What that means is the real policy, the traditional policy has been border agents can, when somebody comes up, they can make a determination right then and there. Is this person actually in fear of their life in the country that they come from? And if they make a determination that the answer is no, the border agent can turn around and send them right back. Under Joe Biden, they said, oh no, that has to be an asylum judge, and that the person coming across the country illegally gets an attorney, and that proceeding doesn't even start for 6 or 7 months, and then the second hearing doesn't start for 6 or 7 years. No, we got to stop all that. House Republicans to do that just through the budget. The second thing we have to get to is in energy. And what we have to do is we have to make sure that this administration actually defends the oil leases and the oil permits that they extend. The radical crazies will give the permit, but then they know they got their buddies on the outside who will sue, and they don't defend it in federal court. We have to demand that they defend those permits in federal court, because if we're gonna be energy independent, you gotta let the people who are out there busting their hump, drilling for oil and drilling for gas, they gotta have a fair shot to get those holes dug and get that energy out to service the American people. And then we can actually get back to even doing this cool thing, which is like exporting energy across the globe, so people aren't reliant on Putin or on Xi Jinping. That's what we need to be doing. There's a couple things that we can get done. Oh, and I'm gonna let them clap first. Finish clapping.
Go.
That's good stuff.
Go.
Last one.
Yes.
We're gonna have a lot of investigations, y'all. A lot of investigations are coming. And we, for once and for all, are gonna get down to the bottom of so many of the problems that have been caused by congressional Democrats and by this White House. Because the American people need answers, and we have to get down to the solutions that are gonna put our country back on track.
So, there's a lot of opinions up here, lots of opinions. But Congressman, let me ask you this, because I was quite shocked the other day when Joe Biden kind of almost like said that he handled COVID better than President Trump did. And I was like, well, but President Trump was working on Operation Warp Speed, darling, but he's still like, he goes back to attacking President Trump and demonizing President Trump, and then obviously any America First politician. How is it going to work in a gridlock environment when Republicans are a majority in the House and the Senate, and you've got a Democrat president?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it works, but I think our charge, Mercedes, is to give him all he can deal with. Let's see how big a boy he is, as far as being a veto president or one that wants to move our country forward, because, remember, we get the House, we get the Senate, the people have spoken, right?
Right.
And they want conservative leadership, and hopefully he will see that and begin to sit down and make a deal. I'm in the car business, okay? So I'm used to making deals. And I just don't see that he will stand up there alone and just veto everything, because as we've talked about, you know, we've got a lot to fix. We've got to undo a lot of what he's done. And unfortunately, he's driven by what President Trump did. And so much of it, you know, the good things that we're talking on the border, Title 42 is a good thing, right?
Absolutely.
Stay in Mexico policy is a good thing. We need to keep all that. I've got a bill to make it permanent. But just because Trump was for it and Trump created it, he's against it. So it's a great question. And it may require some brinkmanship. It may require some salesmanship. But at the same time, he won't be tested unless we as a House and we as a Senate get back to passing conservative legislation that is for the people, by the people, lower taxes, give the economy back to Main Street, give the economy back to consumers that will allow us all to compete for their business instead of competing against the government. So we got to get that message out there. We got to get that legislation out there, and let's just put it on his desk, right? And let's see what he wants to do.
Byron, you talked about energy independence, the critical importance of this. Obviously, we saw President Biden go off to Saudi Arabia begging for oil. And then you've got the bigger threat. You've got the Russia, China, Iran effect,
yes,
which is they know that if we keep America if they can keep America weak, that they're winning. So how can Republicans, as we take on these leadership roles, push back on China, push back on Russia, push back on Iran, especially when you know that what you're dealing with is a weak president that hasn't been able to deal with them?
Well, a couple things. One, we need to lead on ending this foolishness with electric vehicles and solar panels and wind farms. This is foolishness, folks. It does not work. My good buddy Roger's talking about making a deal. Well, what kind of deal is it for us to take our treasure and give it to China in exchange for batteries? That is dumb. That's just dumb stuff.
That is dumb. Yeah.
So what we need to do is, America, we need to go back in time a little bit and reinvigorate an energy that we actually taught the world how to create, and that's nuclear power. We need to actually expand our nuclear capabilities in the United States. We need to bring back the mining and enrichment of uranium, and even using thorium and molten salt reactors here in the United States, instead of getting uranium from Russia, which is where most of the world gets their enriched uranium from. We need to do that here at home. If you do that, you start taking care of your Russia problem. If you stop getting all these batteries and solar panels, which, by the way, now we know that the solar panels, when you get rid of them, they actually leach into the groundwater and they contaminate groundwater. Instead of doing that, how about we build our domestic energy capacity here at home so it is cheap, it's reliable. Oh, and by the way, folks, that thing, nuclear power, it's actually greener than solar panels. It's greener than solar energy. It's greener. And it's readily available. We can do that. So that stops us sending money to the Chinese. It stops us having to buy uranium from the Russians. It puts us on the capacity to lead the world when it comes to expanding on nuclear innovation. It's amazing stuff. I've been learning this for the last year and a half. It's great stuff. Oil and natural gas, we should be exporting liquid natural gas to Europe to get Europe off of the teat of Russia.
Okay.
That's what we gotta do. We should be exporting that to them. We can do that stuff. Now, how do you get this all to happen? You put pressure, like Roger was saying, on the current president of the United States. This man is terrible at his job. And he's bad. He's terrible at his job, and he is so weak that if House Republicans and Senate Republicans don't seize this moment to put pressure on him and make him make decisions, then we have not done our job.
So, as we're talking about solutions, I think one of the things one of the topics that keeps coming up is Joe Biden mentally fit to be president?
No.
No.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. I apologize.
I don't think any of his cabinet is. But he's not.
I mean, when he's reading off the cue card and he's like, "You should be seated now," it's like, what are they doing? It's really bad staff work. Let me ask you a question on regulations, because as we know, regulations plays a huge role in, if you're putting these burdensome regulations on the energy industry, on businesses, it creates a huge havoc in investing in these businesses. What do you think is, and bring this also, not only the regulations piece, but the ESG component that these corporations are embracing left and right?
So regulations are killing small business. They're killing all businesses. Here's an interesting statistic. Since Biden has come into office, he's put $200 billion worth of regulations on small business. $200 billion. 130 million hours is required to deal with the $200 billion in regulations. President Trump took all that away. Biden has added that. So if you're a bank or you're a business, you're now all of a sudden finding...
This sort of seems like a comedy show.
As opposed to maybe a loan officer that can do business, you see. So the regulations, and people don't think about that, but they literally choke businesses. And they cost jobs because you have to hire people that are not generate income for your business. You have to lay people off, and so it's a real disaster. And they're going to continue to put more and more out there for us. So that's what a challenge is, and it's what they've done. But if you think of $200 billion
Sadly, I can only stay until quarter of, at which point the pizza man and Sean Hannity were both supposed to have spoken per the agenda, and they're running very behind. Hopefully we'll at least get the pizza man.
I'm in the car business. I'm in the car business for 51 years.
Business.
Nobody comes in and wants an EV vehicle. They don't ask for it. And they have forced these manufacturers to go woke, and they have gone for it. I'm talking about GM, I'm talking about Chrysler, I'm talking about Ford, all the others, and they've bid into this, and they're not sellable. They are not going to be competitive. I've said all along, if you live in Texas, you live right here, and you want to take a jet ski, a boat, or a horse trailer to Midland, Texas, you're never going to get there. And they want the government to put out the charging stations when that ought to be the job of the private sector, like they did with gas stations back in the 20s. And if we all know if the government owns the charging stations, they're going to get vandalized and they won't work, okay? So I'm just...
Is the plan for the government to own the charging stations or just to subsidize them? I hadn't heard that the government was going to own the charging stations.
Want one, then come let us make one. Okay? But consumers have to tell us what we want as a dealer. I need to sell what you want, not what the government wants you to have. So I'm pretty passionate.
Imagine complaining about gas prices and also complaining about electric vehicles.
Make it, but no government subsidies, because they're going to have to pay me to sell it, and they're going to have to pay the manufacturer to make it, and the taxpayers in the end are going to be footing the bill. It's a disaster.
It's
so
like
you have an opinion.
I know.
He has an opinion on electric vehicles,
It's like a
folks.
perfect TV ad. I can see it now. Byron, you know, we've seen the supply.
Honestly, when people are just against electric vehicles, they sound so dumb. It's shocking. It's almost like saying we really got to stay away from cars because the horses and buggies are just so great.
Parents are concerned. What is going to be the solution? How do we handle this?
Well, look, I know Pete Buttigieg, when he went on paternity leave, you know, he had some baby formula. I know he might have had his supply. But look, this is a real tragedy. And the reality is that there are serious reforms that have to be done at the FDA. And this administration is not going to do it. When you have a situation where parents can't get baby formula, like I used to buy the baby formula in my house, love you, honey, but I did. I went out and bought it. I know what it is. I have to go find the formula. And you have to keep the same formula. You can't switch.
Yeah.
Because the baby will reject it.
Right.
So when you do this across the country and you don't have a plan in place, you have a situation where children might have lower birth growth rates, lower brain development over the long term. This is a serious tragedy for infants. What you have to do is some serious reforms at the FDA. They cannot shut down plants without a pathway in order to make sure the supply that is needed continues. If we had an administration...
Wasn't it a temporary shutdown because there were like poisoned formula batches?
Had a plan.
He's saying they should stay open.
And Joe Biden said this about 3 years ago. Oh, there was no plan. There was no plan. This guy is the guy with no plans. We're moving from crisis to crisis to crisis. It's going to take Republican leadership to make sure we have those. Quick point on ESG. ESG is fascism. That is what this stuff is. It is fascism. When you have knuckleheads in the bureaucracy who've never run a business, who've never really had a real job, and now they get to set the standards for what societal goals are, what energy goals are, they are no better than a Politburo.
ESG is environmental and social governance, I believe. It's basically like corporations should consider the environmental and social impact of what they do.
So we have bills. There are bills in Congress that Republicans are working on to get rid of ESG. We have bills. Actually, I have a bill with my colleague French Hill from Arkansas about getting the full employment mandate out of the Federal Reserve and getting the Federal Reserve back to just a stable prices mandate so we don't have these crazy inflations ripping through our country. Those are the solutions that we're working on.
Congressman, what are we going to do about big tech and censorship when Republicans take power?
Well, I think we need to go full speed into it, and we need to make sure voices are heard and not heard. We've seen how they can control the whole media operation and say things about.
You guys understand that? The other guy is like, it's fascism to tell businesses that they have to consider the environmental and social impact of their activities, because it's too much regulation. Now this guy goes, oh, we've got to ensure that all of our opinions are heard on social medias, which are private companies. Do these people even realize that they're parodies of themselves?
On the same playing field.
And Byron, how do we stop critical race theory from being taught in our schools? How do we stop this crazy gender ideology?
Oh, God.
I mean, this is a big problem that I don't think parents would have ever imagined that they would have to deal with.
No, I know, there's no way in hell my mother would have allowed this to happen. I'm telling you right now, my mother wouldn't have allowed this.
Oh, okay.
Not her. Meredith P. Brown, no way. This never would have happened. The biggest thing is, and this is not just federal, this is federal, state, local.
Yes.
You have to get with your county commissions, your school boards, your state legislatures, and they need to make sure that when they do these diversity, equity, and inclusion seminars that every government office does and a lot of corporate offices are now doing, that they're not being run by these woke nonprofits that subscribe to critical race theory. That's how that stuff has gotten into so many of our institutions. In the military, one of the other key things House Republicans need to make sure gets done is that we are no longer funding this woke ideology in our military.
Amen.
Our military men and women. Our military men and women have one job: secure the nation and kill the enemy when it's time to kill the enemy. That is their job, no more, no less. Okay. So that's what we got to do to get it out.
Actually, the military has many other important things that they do, including as it relates to the development of technology, research. I mean, even that's very stupidly wrong.
Fire Pelosi, we're gonna outvote them in November, right? She's gonna be gone, okay? And it can't come soon enough. But let me tell you, this is our generation's Valley Forge. I really believe this. This really is our most important election. We are here on this earth to save this country right now.
Amen.
And we must fight till I had a football coach in college say you fight them on the ice and you fight them till hell freezes over. Let's go, right? But what I'm saying to you is this is important, and we've got to stand up, and we've got to understand this is socialism.
No.
Don't be afraid of that word.
It's not.
It's socialism. It's fascism. It's all the above that's being
It's socialism and fascism
that we have in this country. This country is over 200 years old, as we all know, and look, and it's done really well over those periods of time. And look how hard it is to keep democracy. What's happened the last 18 months, right? It's very precious. We got to fight for it. And yesterday's gone forever. Tomorrow never comes. It's all about the present. Amen. And it's the present because it's a gift from God. This is our gift to stand up. Say, we're not taking it anymore. We love our country. America is the greatest country in the world. Let's keep it that way.
All right, you got to try to beat that.
You got me ready to suit up, Coach. Coach, you got me ready to suit up. Listen, this is very simple. You got to get out and vote. And you better get your family out to vote. And you better get your friends out to vote. We are watching halfway around the globe. The Ukrainian people are staring the Russian military in the face because they want to defend their sovereignty. And they're not worried about it not being fair. They're not worried about how the Russians got more equipment. They're fighting, and they're laying everything on the line to defend their country. If they're willing to do that here in the United States, the least we can do is show up and vote. So let's show up and vote. Let's get rid of Pelosi. Let's take back the House, and let's save America.
Amen.
That's it.
All right.
Good job.
Okay, so our final Cpac handshake. 1, 2, 3. Whoa! Congressman Byron Donalds, Congressman Roger Williams, thank you both so much. And let's do this.
Oh, God. This is not safe for children. Okay, I think Papa John is next, and then I actually have to run in about 15 because I have a prior commitment, but let's see if we can see it. This is really bad, really, really bad. I think my granddad bought a Buick from this guy. Okay. Yeah, that guy was quite a character. Thank you to Scarecrow, Crow, Humanoid, Hersafat, and Joe Sauce for the Twitch Prime subscription. The heck was that? Did you see that? How long was that playing? I didn't even know what that was. Could you guys hear me? I don't know where that came from. That was bizarre. 10 seconds. Oh my God. Anyway, I was thanking people Please sign up, folks. Please sign up at joinpacman.com. Use the coupon code INDICT. Welcome to Johnny Bob, number 61 today via Twitch Prime. I also thanked someone through the website. That was what it was. That's what it was all about. How do these guys have the chutzpah to tell these lies about electric vehicles and energy politics? These guys are either unintelligent or narcissists who don't care what happens to our planet. Why not both? I think that they're actually both, to be perfectly frank. Oh my God, a lot of very strange videos happening here. Very, very strange videos. Yeah, they are obsessed with lying about electric vehicles. They just absolutely hate them. What is this? Tusk the free speech browser? I haven't seen this. They have a free speech everything, it seems like. They have their free speech platform. Hold on, do I have that?
Truth Central.
And now they have a free speech browser as well. Parler. Parler is a very important thing. Wow, this is truly cuckoo. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Thank you to Tim Silver Bonito, who has just gifted a subscription at joinpacman.com and is new member number 62 today. We are standing by for Papa John Schnatter, and we have a couple other voicemails that have come in.
Hey, Dave, love the show. Got a serious question for you. At what point do the authorities...
All right, hold on. It's Papa John. Let's listen.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Mercedes. Thank all of you all for your courage to be here. I think it's outstanding. Who loves pizza? Yeah.
Mexico and...
Yeah, who loves freedom?
Obama.
Wasn't for freedom, wouldn't be no pizza. Wouldn't be no Papa John's, that's for sure. But hey,
I read that if it not for freedom, we would have no pasta either.
Gas prices, interest rates going through the roof. We're weak on the foreign front. And what I'm referring to is the 1970s. Jimmy Carter, there you go, Ford. Not the 2020s.
Someone's really got to tell this guy, you got to wear a V-neck undershirt. I mean, this is just not a good look. How has he not? Look at the money this guy has, and he's wearing a crew neck undershirt.
My father was a serial entrepreneur, and he got through the UK school selling hot dogs on a hot dog stand. So he was an entrepreneur, and he had 6 businesses in the 70s, and they all went
bankrupt. Yeah.
High regulation, high fuel, anti-business, and attitude against the entrepreneur. And the toll it took on me to this day, the scarring, was just immense. And all of a sudden, you know, we had to live with this every day. And you can't really have empathy for anybody unless you walked a mile in their shoe. And I don't know if any of you all have ever been bankrupt or had, you know, kind of been at the end of the rope. It's the worst feeling in the world. And we lived that in the 70s. And I look at the poor entrepreneurs today in the 2020s, and I reflect back on just what they have to deal with regulation, printing of money, inflation, but that we have a mindset from a commander-in-chief who's really anti-entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship is not the thing. Entrepreneurship is everything. Everything we have in America in the capitalistic system starts with an entrepreneur.
Really an electric speaker.
Creativity. It's a better, more efficient way to do something. Then all of a sudden, 1980 comes along. And what's the saying is that if you don't learn from history, you repeat the mistakes. I would argue that the key is to learn from history and don't repeat those mistakes. And Reagan comes along. He's pro-business. He's pro-entrepreneur. He's lowers rates by half. Takes inflation down half. Fuel prices drop. And all of a sudden we have this magical time, as he called it, the shining city on the hill. What were Reagan's 9 words that were the most dangerous words in the English language? I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. You know, the guy got the joke. I mean, he was a superstar. And then 84, Papa John's. That's when we came up. We're in a broom closet. We got $1,600, and we had a dream of making a better pizza.
Right.
And I mean, the tailwind we had by having leadership and having an economy and having pro-entrepreneur and pro-business mindset, how lucky was I? Here I am, you know, in a broom closet, my dad's tavern, and we had $1,600 to end up building 5,000 stores. We're doing $4 billion a year, but we thought we could do it because we were in an environment that we could do it. And I just felt so lucky and fortunate to be in the environment I was in the 80s versus today in the environment that my dad was in the 70s.
The pizza's a disaster, folks.
Kind of a linear equation. I call it the evil elite left. Gates, Soares, Schwab. I mean,
Schwab. Guys, Soares and Schwab are the guys that are going to destroy the country.
the pharmaceutical, the processed food that the FDA shouldn't really approve. It doesn't kill you, but it really does make you sick. And then the same 5 groups that own the processed foods also own the pharmaceutical companies that they get you on because they're not sick. So there's 5 entities that really control media, academia, and everything else.
Zoraz.
It's those 5 evil entities. And you can always tell when they're active in what they're doing. It goes back to 1918, the Frankfurt Institute, where the concept was fascism, Marxism, but
Fascism,
destroy, disrupt, without any solution. They started out in the 40s where they attacked the middle class, 60s and 70s with the sex revolution, the culture in the 90s and 2000.
Yep.
And now they're attacking our youth. Whether it's sex trafficking on the border, illegal drugs coming through the border, the CRT, vaccines to 5-month-olds or 5-year-olds, everything they do, they're trying to disrupt their youth. Because
vaccines are disrupted.
If you're going to create a global economy, you've got to have America to participate. And the only way America is going to participate is if we're discombobbled or we're in disarray, we're in a position of weakness. And the evil forces at the top, because it is a battle now between good and evil, is that we must protect our youth. Our youth is our future. Our children are our future. Mm-hmm. And they know that. And our children are under attack.
Yikes.
So I end this with a little bit of a note. Okay, what's the solution? You have this linear tug of war. They throw a dart, a missile, we throw a missile back. You take something like, okay, the left wants security. The right...
This is one of the funniest and saddest things I've ever seen.
That's just one aspect of what we fight over. And then the government puts in bad policy right down the middle. It doesn't really solve the problem. And I would argue that we have the right ideology. We have truth in God, free markets, free enterprise, which enhances the betterment of humanity. We have that on our side. That's a good thing. But I think if we're going to change the world...
This is sadder than Mike Pillow, I agree.
It's not only what we say, it's not only what we do, it's who we become as a nation. The outer work can never be small if the inner work is great, and the outer work can never be great if the inner work is small.
Huh.
The tug of war is a very low vibration, low frequency game that it's a pluses. It's a game that they're going to win because of numbers. A higher vibration game, one of joy, compassion, kindness,
quite a word
respect,
salad,
enlightenment. That's a game when we increase.
Yeah, folks, if anybody in the audience needs a mercy ban, just ask the moderators. I would understand it. I do.
Vibration, and we increase our party, then we together can change the world. And I know we have to fight the good fight. I have liberal friends. I love them. They think like buffoons. They think arithmetic's an opinion. They're full of anger. I ask them, are you angry because you're stupid, or are you stupid because you're angry?
These sound like great friends.
The answer is the latter. They're stupid because they're angry. There's a jealousy aspect, a hatred, envy, a shame, guilt aspect that keeps them from functioning at a higher level of rationality.
This guy needs to take public speaking advice from Herschel Walker.
The level of awareness. And so if we want to increase awareness, if we want to be a tractor like Reagan, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, if we want to be a tractor, we have to change ourselves.
As a goof, it's occurring to me. I just looked, and there's a Papa John's in Brooklyn that would actually deliver to the studio. I wonder if tomorrow night during the Trump rally, I should somehow allow the audience to configure a Papa John's pizza and to get it delivered during the stream. Would that be so? I don't know. Would that even be interesting as a goof?
The attributes you want on your side is God and truth. Those are the two strongest characteristics you can have.
Don't do it. All right.
You combine that with awareness and a consciousness to really see and understand.
Right. Would I eat it is the key question. I certainly don't want to support the business, and I don't know that I would eat it.
We will keep that light on that shining city on top of the hill. Thank you.
Did he just make a weird noise? Did you guys hear that? Was that him? That was a really strange noise that he just made. Maybe that's a speech impediment of some kind, which I would never make fun of. It was just very, very strange. I've never seen that before. Wow. That was really weird. It was the start of the N-word and he was holding it in. Yeah, that's very clever. Very, very clever. All right, guys. Well, that ends my coverage today. They only have a couple more speakers. And I'm going to be back tomorrow, okay? Maybe we'll order a Papa John's pizza for delivery or whatever the case may be. I appreciate everybody joining me. Make sure you're following on Twitch. Make sure you have subscribed on YouTube. It's all free. So that tomorrow we can all meet here again under the auspices of glory and everything. This is Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, and he's absolutely bonkers. Definitely a bit of a, well, anyway, I'm not going to comment on his physical appearance. That would be outside the scope. But we will see everybody tomorrow. Thank you very much.